All right. Usually I don't. This is unusual for me for two reasons. I usually take a little more time between videos, but that has usually to do with inspiration. That I don't really know what I'm supposed to talk about, right? And usually I don't like showing working progresses in my videos. Like I show my cars when I've finished them, but well, it's just the interior in this case. And variations that will the post is going to be bigger anyways. um, I'm starting this video. I'm making this video because of someone posting a question on Reddit where I answered with two walls of text. Like it's really hard for me to explain in text what I mean. Um, because I don't know, I've been playing this game for 5 years at this point, and I do like to believe that I have a good understanding on how to design at least American cars, right? And the question what the person on Reddit asked was, how can you make, how can you avoid making a car look too much like its inspiration? Like the person asked about making a mid 70s pickup truck, which is just up my alley, or SUV, something SUV or pickup truck. I don't remember, but again, the time frame is just up my alley. That's my jam. So I thought I'd answer, and I didn't really quite. The first time I answered, I didn't really quite get what I meant. Like that was I it was on the tip of my tongue. What, because I don't really voice how I approach things. But the problem, I know the problem. For that example, I think I only once made a van based on the Econoline body. And with that van, I had the same problem. And I just recently encountered the same problem because I wanted to make like an American van. Uh, and I, of course, chose the Econoline, and the Econoline just looked too much like an Econoline. And no matter what, I just couldn't find an approach to it. Um, and then I just thought about that. uh, Like I remembered the question again of that person, and I was like, ah, damn, I do have a solution for that because it's not the first time that happened to me, and where the second approach then was better. Like in this case, like this is the Ford Transit body, which is maybe not that easy to see because I, of course, did modifications to it, like as you do on Reddit. Right? Oh, here you can see one of them. Like the Ford Transit body has like this. It curves down here. This paint slot, it curves down here, so I just covered it up, real simple with vinyls. No big deal, right? And I just took this body that was not supposed to be Chevy van like, and I just threw stuff at it until it stopped looking like a Transit. And it got easier because I had I think it's more easy, or at least more satisfying, because you have a starting point which which has nothing to do with your end point. So along the way, you're just like constantly looking for solutions. And it's much more satisfying because you don't start with a solution, you start with another problem. And that's, and once you like, so basically immediately, once you have found that approach that is going to make the thing look the way you want, it's early on, right? But it's a much bigger change. If you start with the Econoline, it already looks like an American van because it is an American van. So the first few steps that you do are just not, they don't make you happy. You don't have that little moment of success where you're like, oh man, this is great. I'm on a good path. So start with the wrong idea and work yourself up to the thing that you want to do. As you can see, I placed a few cars because those are all cars where I started with the wrong car to get to the right car, if that makes sense, right? So like the taillights, I had to come up with that. I couldn't just rely on what was there. I had to make it myself. And again, once you figure every little step where you figure out how to make it right, it helps you keep going. I don't know if that makes sense, but you know what I mean. You have that little boost of happiness where you're like, oh man, this is going to be great, and you keep going. Again, making cars and automation is so extensive at this point that once you realize that it's just much harder, not much easier to get a creative to be creative with something that requires more work to be passable, right? Like the hood doesn't work. I had to use 3D elements to cover up the shape of the headlights and the hood on the Transit to make it more American looking. And while it looks very much like a Chevy van, it doesn't look too much like a Chevy van because it never would be able to, right? Same goes with this, and this is a great example of why that approach is great. The body is based on Ford Tirana, no, Holden Tirana. I think like Opel and Vauxhall, they have cars that have this shape, and the Ford Taunus / Cortina, right? And I tried to make like an American car, like the like a Chevy Nova or a Plymouth Volare, that type of that type of American mid-size compact sedan, right? And if you look at the front fascia, there's nothing special about this. If I were to slap this combination of headlights and turn signals on the 77 Impala body, it would just look like a Cadillac Seville, right? It already looks very much like a Cadillac Seville, but because the body is a little bit too curvaceous, it's that's where it changes, and then and that's where you can much more freely be creative about it because things are bound to look like other cars. But if you combine the wrong thing with the right thing, you get something that is even more right and just, at the very least, not as obvious. Like with the van, this is obviously you're going to use the Ford Econoline to make an American van. So if someone says, if you're in a challenge and someone says make an American van, everybody is going to make a Ford Econoline. Everybody, because it's the only one we have, right? This is another great example of the wrong body for the right job, because this is the underneath all of this. That's the Winga Dinga body. But I had to 3D all of that crap, right? Like again, like take this as inspiration. Take this as inspiration because this is the biggest change with the littlest amount of work, right? This is not the body shape is not American, but it looks American now. This is not supposed to be like, okay, the entire inspiration of this car, I don't know what it would be, what it is supposed to be like it, but the body shape, the Winger Digger body, is not supposed to look like this. But you throw enough stuff at it, you can make it work. It's really just the trunk shape that made me choose this car, because I could make the trunk look like this, right? Another example is this, right? Since we're on the topic, like the topic is this type of vehicle. This is a Toyota Land Cruiser, but the Toyota Land Cruiser body has a node to a morph to make it wider, right? So I just did that. And voila, you have basically a Bronco slash Chevy Blazer, right? But it's not supposed to be, because it's a Japanese SUV, not an American SUV. You know what I mean? Like, it's that's where you get into uncharted territory, where you basically force yourself to be creative, because you have no choice. If you were to just go by the book, this is the wrong approach, right? And another thing is, when you research how to make things look like an American SUV, you of course are going to look for pictures of Chevy Blazers, Ford Broncos, Dodge Ram Chargers, etc. You will look for the common demand, for the thing that these vehicles have in common, and you will then just throw it at your own car, right? And you will choose different inspirations for different problems, and it's just going to look like the cliche, like the style, but it's not going to look like any one of them. This is undoubtedly American, design-wise. But this is not a Ram Charger, this is not a Bronco, this is not uh, this is not a Blazer, not a Bronco, not a Ram Charger. But it's one of them. You immediately see that because of the two-tone design. You see that because of the plastic roof. The plastic roof is not supposed to look like on a Bronco. It's supposed to look like on a Toyota Land Cruiser. So it just had to fill this in, because it's two windows. Like, I filled that in with black decals and added a little bit of chrome here to make it work, to give it the look that I needed it to have. Or here in this case, this is a Tatra body. The Tatra body, you can kind of see it here. I had to 3D head the same headlight in here that I know it's a different one, but I had to use 3D a headlight in there, and to extend the fender to make it look like a car from the 1940s, 1950s, late 40s, early 50s. Because yes, I could have just used the one that the vanilla option for that, which is either a Renault Frégate or a 47 Buick, but none of those approaches were ever as satisfying as this, right? Especially because of, that's the thing. You need to put yourself at a disadvantage and force yourself to be creative, because it's going to be so much more rewarding for you, that in the end, no matter what your skill set is, you will at least have had fun. That's about it, and I hope you learned nothing.